Good morning, everyone. I'm Cody, and I'm a senior, and this was my third year on ASP. I've been ASP for the last 3 years, and what an experience it has been. When I was a freshman, I was on the verge of making an extremely regrettable mistake. It was a month before ASP, and I wasn't signed up to go. Mrs. Beth approached me and luckily talked me into it. That year, my job was not an enviable one. In fact, it was monotonous and physically draining. We shoveled all day to build a very long couch. However, my cup would be refilled every night back at the school we stayed at. The jokes and laughter never stopped. During the family picnic, we climbed and descended down a very steep mountain in the pouring rain. I also got to share a parody song Andrew White and I wrote about the trip at a post-ASP bonfire. The second year, we had the work of a small army of contractors. Tiling, roofing, siding, installing a ceiling fan, and lots more. But besides the work, we got to hear the lack of appreciation from the adults as we performed a 6-minute Broadway-like play on the bleachers of the gym that we slept in after lights out. The most recent year, I had the role of a youth leader, and I did not take it lightly. Matt Buzard and I showed up to the group draft in full business attire. That's right, we wore suits to the ASP work group draft. When we got to Kentucky, I had a job I was thoroughly excited for. Building a 39-foot wooden wheelchair ramp under the flawless leadership of Mr. Dick and Mr. Eric. 8 hours a day for 5 days, with a few hours tacked on at the end, and we had quite a product. The ramp was perfect after hitting a number of obstacles along the way. The feeling of pride in my work and seeing the smiles on the faces of the family as they looked upon the free-of-charge final product could only be topped by seeing Mr. Jim's face when he saw his cot hanging from the gym ceiling. As you can see from all these testimonies, ASP is a life-changing experience that does amazing things for everyone involved. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Brianna, and this was my third ASP trip. July 22nd, 2012, I was half asleep as my dad drove me and 4 other girls to Kentucky for this year's ASP mission trip. We had already been stuck in a minivan for over 7 hours when we got lost trying to find the high school we were supposed to stay at that week. We managed to drive straight into town before realizing we had made a wrong turn at least a mile behind us. The usually chatty girls all at once turned quiet, and I could just hear murmurs of whoa and oh my gosh. I opened my eyes to catch my first glimpse of the devastation caused by the tornadoes in West Liberty, Kentucky, an image I will never be able to forget. Homes had entire stories ripped away, walls were torn down, debris was blown everywhere, and roofs were caved in. I can still picture one of the stores that had its side walls ripped through, not just one exterior wall, but layers of drywall, brick, and concrete blocks. All of the furniture was still inside, but everything had been turned upside down and torn apart. Out of everything that we saw, one thing really haunted me. The image of an urban search and rescue code that we saw in the window of some storefront in the center of town. For those of you that don't know, that is an official code that the Federal Emergency Management Agency has created. That it's a giant X with each quadrant denoting some part of the search. The left side being the team who searched the house, the top being the date and time, the right side being any personal hazards they found, and the bottom being the number of victims that were found there. I was the only person in my car who recognized this sign because I learned about it before going to a mission trip to New Orleans earlier that spring, and I never expected to see it elsewhere. I knew we were going on this trip to this county because of tornado damage, but I had only seen pictures of the site online, and seeing that town and that code just made it so much more real. With all the devastation, nothing struck me more than a concrete slab in the shape of Kentucky. We had gone to this town's hard store just about every day that week, as at our site, all the materials that we needed weren't quite given to us in the right size or the amount that we needed, so we had to pick up a lot of it on our own. But the second to last day that we were there at that hardware store, I could just barely see it sticking out from a couple of boxes on the floor. I do not know why it was there, whose it was, or what it was for, but engraved on the front of this concrete slab were the words 2012, West Liberty, Kentucky, twisted in the wind, rebuilt, but not forgotten. It scared me to think that without ASP, these people could have been forgotten. I have been on 5 mission trips so far in my life, and none of the people I have served deserve that. This year was no different. My crew worked in the home of Judy and Mike. They were a sweet couple with an odd sense of humor and grandchildren that came around often, no matter how much they were teased. We worked on so many projects, installing a shower, framing windows, fixing electric work, nailing up wood paneling, installing cabinets, and adding plumbing for a kitchen sink, none of which I have done before, but I loved every minute of it. This trip has changed everything for me. I have wanted to be an architect for a few years now, but it was this last ASP that made me realize mission work was for me. After college, I intend to work with nonprofit architecture companies to build relief shelters and schools in third world countries. I have seen enough devastation from disasters and poverty to know that this is what God is calling for me. ASP has opened up a whole new world, breaking me out of Howard County bubble of comfort and showing me what a difference I can make in other people's lives. I am so thankful for the opportunities I have had with these mission trips and for all the support you as a congregation have given us. Thank you.